Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. I would let our co-host announce that, but I jumped the gun. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. Good morning, good evening, and welcome to another enlightening session on daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. And yeah,
And
over
with
to
that,
you.
Shefali would like to hand it over to me. And thank you, Shefali. And Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. Now let me share my screen. We'll get started with our opening prayers like we always do. So let me share my screen. Attendance tracker. All right. Are you able to see my screen? Great. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. So let's get started. We're going to do that today and maybe one more session, and then we'll be done with this topic of surrender. I'll recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam. All right. Who do we have?
Radhe Radhe Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasada param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam.
Thank you, Samji. You're the first one to recite a shloka while laughing. Both things you could pull it off together. So very nice. All right, let's take
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe Ashutosh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Ashutosh.
Radhe Radhe. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharat tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam.
Very nice. Thank you, Ashutosh ji. So today we'll continue with this shloka. We'll pick up the last principle of surrender, which is giving up the pride of having surrendered, and talk about pride and ego and all those concepts today. And we'll watch a video from Swamiji as well. So a couple of hands I see before we get started.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tamev saranam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param santim sthanam prapasyasi saswatam. Radhe
Thank you,
Radhe.
Dinesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Very nice.
Radhe Radhe Sumesh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Sumesh ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Tameva saranam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam.
Wonderful,
Radhe
very
Radhe.
nice. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sumesh ji.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Riya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam.
Wonderful, very nice, Riya ji. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe Sairamji, please go ahead.
All right, last three.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sairamji.
Tamev sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam.
Wonderful, very nice, Sairamji.
Yes.
Okay, last two hands.
Radhe Radhe Surya Prakash ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Surya Prakash ji.
तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यति शाश्वतं.
Prapsyasi, very nice, thank you. All right, last but not the least.
Radhe Radhe Uday ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tam eva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, thank you, Radhe Radhe. All right, so let's get started then. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, surrender exclusively unto him with your whole being. O Bharat, by his grace, you will attain perfect peace and the eternal abode. So this is the principle of surrender that we have been talking about for this week. And today we will move forward and touch upon this concept. Ego, as we see. Now, what is ego? A very beautiful acronym that Swamiji has given us for ego is edging God out. Okay, when we edge God out, that is essentially what ego is. So we use our elbow room to edge God out. That is our pride or ego. That is what we are going to talk about today. And we are also going to look at why is it important to get rid of pride. We all have pride to varying extent, subtle pride in a lot of ways. And that's something we are going to look at today. And how it is something which is detrimental to our spiritual progress, because we are further away from truth. Right? The more further away we are from the truth, absolute truth, that basically results in the slower the progress we would make. So the closer we are to the truth, the more acceptance we have towards the truth would automatically bring in the sense of opposite to pride. There's absolutely no reason to be proud about anything. And we will look at this concept of pride and ego both. But the beautiful acronym, you can always remember ego as edging God out. Very nicely Swamiji has given. He gives us those one-liners and nice acronyms just so that we can remember some of these concepts properly. The other one was NATO, like he had given not attached to outcome. And for ego, it is edging God out. Okay, so let's get started. So this is one quotation I really liked from Swami Vivekananda. He said that you may convert each building in the land into a charitable organization or a hospital, but the misery of man will continue unabated until their character changes spiritually. It puts into perspective the Jan Seva aspect of it. You can go ahead and start converting everything into a charitable hospital, or maybe into some kind of an institution of the choice of your the cause that you want to be associated with. However, it still does not address the root cause, which is the spiritual character, the change that needs to come from within. So by that, you are truly not able to serve the mankind in ways which are lasting. That is a very, very important thing. So that is why the highest level of charity is charity of spiritual knowledge. If you can hand it over to somebody, hopefully that person can receive it. And if it brings about a transformation in them, that is the highest level of charity. And it actually endears the one who provides that charity to Lord Krishna in 1867. It is very clearly stated by Lord Krishna as well. Now, Even Einstein had said that humans, they have harnessed the technology to denature plutonium, but they have not been able to figure out a technology that could remove the evil in human heart. We don't have a technology for that. And that technology is spiritual science, which is what we are reading on a daily basis right now. It's a very interesting quotation. Some people say that doing this charity is the be all and end all of everything. That is actually not the case. Not to suggest you don't do that, you'd still do that. But the key here is to bring about change in character, which is the biggest thing. And that doesn't happen so easily. The most toughest thing in this world is to bring about a change from within. It's not an easy task unless you are committed to work on yourself. All right, so let's move on. Now, these are the 6 principles: to desire in accordance with the desire of God, not to desire against the desire of God, to have firm faith, God is protecting us, maintain an attitude of gratitude towards God, to see everything we possess as belonging to God. Last is the to give up the pride of having surrendered. This is the one we are going to pick up because we have been talking about all the remaining principles in our previous sessions. Now let's start this with a, all right, so let's look at this. It was a very interesting forward I had gotten somebody. So sometimes God doesn't do things the way we think we should, but God has a perfect plan for your life. Okay. How? This is how God's plans unfolds. It may not come as a straight line. You have to go from point A to point B, and we expect that it is going to be a smooth ride, straight line, boom, we get there. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through obstacles, hurdles. You may have to climb up. You may hit some rough weather along the way. And finally, the journey might be arduous and long, but God promises it will be worth the trouble and the wait. When you reach there, you will say that, you know what, it was really worth all the troubles I took, and it was really worth all the wait I did. That is how it's meant to be. So it doesn't work like a straight line like we expect. No, that is how God's plans unfolds typically. So that is again basically what we need along that part is actually, if you think about it, there are only 2 plans in this world. One is the plan that you make for yourself, and other is the plan that God or Krishna has for you. And the plan that Krishna has for you trumps the card, usually trumps the plan that you have for yourself. So what we need to do in that case is we need to bring in faith, we need to bring in trust, we need to bring in acceptance, and we need to bring in surrender. All these things are needed on the path of surrender. When things don't go as we think they should go. Like you see on the left-hand side, it's not a straight path. Lot of drama along the way. You may have to swim, you may have to climb, you may have to take on pain. But once you pass through all the tests, then it will be very well worth it. And that is typically how God's plans unfolds. So we need to just have the attributes that are being talked about on the right-hand side, exercise them, and move on. It's like, bring it on. I'm going to pass all the tests with flying colors and come out better, stronger out of everything that's happening in my life. That's the attitude that is needed. Okay, so today's principle is the last one, which is to give up the pride of having surrendered. Okay, so you might have won the game thinking that I did a lot of stuff here, but you have to give up that pride as well. And that pride is very subtle. Even a person who takes care of, do the janitorial work or cleans up a stuff, after you move, they also carry a pride. There was a guy who was telling, end of the day, these people come and dance their way to glory and do all that stuff. It's me only who has to, arrange stuff and clean it up after they leave. So they also have a subtle pride that they are the one who are doing something. So pride is something we cannot get rid of. It's a very subtle thing. All of us have to varying proportion. And ego is something which is the first thing to come as soon as we come in contact with the material world. and the last thing to go. First thing to come and the last thing to go. We just have to not befriend, but use it judiciously to the extent that it is needed and not let our pride swell. That is the whole idea of using ego. So using this ego, you work on your ego until there is no more ego. It's a bit counterintuitive, but this is how it's meant to work. It's like if you have to take out a thorn from your skin, which is stuck in your skin, what do you need? You need another thorn. And then you use that thorn to take out this existing thorn. And once the thorn is taken away, you can reject both the thorns at that point. Similarly, using this ego, we work on our ego, put it in perspective until, with God's grace, this ego also subsides. Yes, Sunita ji had a question.
Radhe Radhe Prabhuji, what is the exact difference between ego and pride?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's look at a lecture around that as well. So ego is something which gives you a sense of I, that I am someone, or I am doing it, right? And then it manifests in form of pride, that I am so great, or I am the doer here, or I have been contributing so much, kind of a deal. So it manifests in form of pride, the ego part of it. But ego is something which gives you a sense of I. There is somebody as I am somebody, kind of a deal. It's a subtle thing, and if you look at the constituents, 24 constituents, the ego is the first thing to come. Ego, ahamkar tattva, through mahan tattva they come, and then the remaining nature unfolds. I'll show you a chart maybe in subsequent sessions.
Means
The
ego
manifestation
and means ego and pride both are negative connotation, right?
not necessarily. Pride is a negative connotation when it is exercised in the area or the realm of material realm. But the same thing can become a virtue when applied on the spiritual side.
And what about ego?
Ego is something, see, like I said, ego is the first thing to come and last thing to go. So who is going to work? Basically, you only have to work, right? And you need that identity of I. Until that I subsides, you are perfectly situated in a knowledge that there's nothing like I. It's God to whom when you surrender, then that I also vanishes, goes away. There was a story, right, Swamiji? I think I came across today that audio and I'd seen that. So there was a guy, God, basically he goes to his guru and he said, you know what, you have this defect of pride in you, ego in you. So you need to work on yourself, because he was in some kind of clothes that would probably illustrate some kind of a status that he had. I may not be getting the entire story because I'd heard it long time back. And then he came in a very ordinary clothing, dhoti and kurta. So he said, no, that defect is still there. And then after that, he was a king, and he used to think I'm majestic, and I think he had that royal attire initially. And then he came in very simple clothes. So the Guru said, no, you still have to work on your, those pride and ego defects that you have. It's still not done. And then he comes in dhoti only. He said, no, you still have that defect, Guru says. So then he gets rid of dhoti also. He comes in his birthday suit and comes in front of him. He said, you still have it. Then he goes and starts meditating and doing his sadhana. And then, because Guru can know, he can peek into your antakaran and know whether that defect is still there or not. And then he manifests in front of him. And he said, oh, king, this guy does not respond because he doesn't consider himself a king anymore. Then he said, you something, maybe I'm not getting that. Then he does not address him as a king, but you tapasvi, or you tyagi, or you renunciate. He calls him like that because he's now a renunciate. And this guy still does not respond because he does not even consider himself a renunciate anymore. That I is also gone now. And then he just lifts him up and hugs him because that defect is completely gone. So that I will continue to remain for as long as we are there, until we are completely sharanagat, surrendered, or purified from inside.
That means ego is negative connotation here.
Yeah,
or
it is.
ego mixed with pride is negative. Otherwise, ego is not negative.
Yeah, pride is a negative connotation for sure. That is something we're going to look at a lecture, and Swamiji will shed more light into it. God says nobody is my friend or I don't detest anything, nor do I But at the same time, one thing that he detests or doesn't like is the pride part of it, because we are taking, it's like a thief trying to take credit for something that truly doesn't belong to them. So yes, ego in itself is not bad as long as it is not coupled with misplaced pride, because using that ego only, you will work on your ego until that I completely subsides. Okay. Now Hanumanji also had a pride, right? He said that as abhiman कहे मोरे मैं सेवक रघुपति पति मोरे. So he also had a pride that I am a sevak of Lord Ram. So when you apply that pride in the spiritual realm, it becomes a virtue, but that is a pretty advanced stage. In material realm, pride is not a good thing. We'll look at a lecture. I think it will shed some more light on this topic. So let's move on. So if we become proud of our deeds, the pride soils our heart. It actually dirties our heart, and it undoes all the good things that we have done. So the right attitude a devotee has is, if I am able to do something worthwhile, it is only because God inspired my intellect. If had it been on me only, I would not have been able to succeed. So that is the attitude a devotee always have. He or she doesn't get a pride that I am the doer, how great I am. Okay, if you have that pride, then you are violating not only the principle of surrender, but soiling your heart as well. That is how it goes. Anything good gets done through us, it's God who inspired us and gave us the inspiration and the energy. Anything bad gets done with us, we take accountability because we are not yet perfect. So this is the attitude a devotee has to keep progressing in life. Okay, so let's move on. Let me know if you're able to hear audio, and I'll run it at 1.5 speed. Hopefully it doesn't become too fast. Just let me know. First, let me know if you're able to hear audio or not. Sorry. Audio is coming? Wonderful. So let me move the speed also from normal to 1.5. That way, just let me know. Hopefully it's not going to be too fast, but I wanted to cover the concept.
All of us have pride. Pride complicates our life. It makes our personality artificial and hypocritical. And the more humble we become, everything falls into place. The day true humbleness comes, that very day the soul will become God realized. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has declared, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyah. Arjun, I am samadarshi, equitable towards everybody. Name dveshyosti na priyah. Nobody is particularly dear to me, nor am I hateful towards anyone. But the same Lord, Naradji is saying, hates one thing and loves another thing. What is it that he hates? It is the ego, the pride. And what does he love? Humbleness. This pride is extremely ugly, even in the world. All the fights that happen are because of pride. There is a book, What They Don't Teach You in Harvard Business School. It was very famous in the 1980s, this book. There he writes that most executives are a ball of ego with hands and feet sticking out. That is the reality of the matter, and that is the cause of all tensions and anxieties. About a few decades ago, some educationalists in America, they launched the self-esteem movement. Their proposition was that if people have good self-esteem, then naturally they do well in life. So the goal of the teachers and the parents became to boost the self-esteem of the children. And hence, nobody was allowed to be failed. Whether they do well or they don't, they will keep getting promoted. They were creating these people who were coming students who were graduating from the education system with bloated self-esteem, thinking that this is good for them. But unfortunately, the world does not support their own view. And when they came in touch with the world, that self-esteem was pricked. And then they were in all kinds of trouble. So the self-esteem movement was stopped. But remnants of it are still there. If you read all these self-help books in American coaching circles, they will tell you you need to have a healthy self-esteem. And that is why people keep coming to me. Swamiji, we have to have a healthy self-esteem. What self-esteem do we have to have? We are the tiny little parts of God. Any kind of self-esteem is a lie. It is falsehood. The real self-esteem is, I am a servant of God. That is the self-esteem of Hanuman. Asa abhiman jai jani bhore, main sevak raghupati pati more. He says that I am proud to be the servant of the Supreme Lord. I am proud about that. This humbleness, the more we develop, the healthier our personality will become. You know, some people have an inferiority complex. Where does it come from? A desire to be superior that is not getting fulfilled, resulting in an inferiority complex. And if you destroy the pride, who am I? What is there to be proud about? All the inferiority complex will also finish. Now, stage fright is considered the biggest fear in the world after death, right? But if you get to the root of it, then analyze, why does this come? It is all pride. What will the others be thinking about me? So what I wish to say is that pride complicates our life. It makes our personality artificial and hypocritical. And the more humble we become, everything falls into place. Most importantly, we attract the grace of God. That is why this word ego is an acronym, edging God out. Why is the ego coming? When we are forgetting God. A firefly, the jugnu, can have pride. Oh, look, I am a light creating creature. It can be proud of it. But when the sun rises, can the jugnu be proud any longer? Of course not. It is only in the absence of the sun that the firefly can think, yes, I am something. In the same way, we make one house and say, maine bhi kya kamal kar diya. That's because we forget that Brahma ji made the whole world and Mahavishnu manifests infinite universes. If we bring the greatness of God to our mind, we have absolutely nothing to be proud about. So pride means forgetting God. And that is why God dislikes it. Moment pride enters, His grace disappears. That is why Saint Kabir said, Jab main tha tab hari nahi, ab hari hai main nahi. When I was there, then God was not present. Now God is present, the I has disappeared. Prema gali ati sankari, yame dvaina samahi. The street of divine love is very narrow. Only one personality will remain there. Either keep the I or keep Bhagavan. The pride is of two things primarily. What I have, although we don't have anything, but whatever it is, our intellect in the material state is making a big deal out of it. Yauvanam dhana sampatti prabhutvam avivekita ekaikampyanarthaya kimu yatra chatushtayam. The basic things that cause pride. Yauvanam, yuvavastha. In youth, it's natural to feel proud. Prapte tu shodashe varshe gardhabhita apsarayate. At the age of 16, even a gadhi, the female donkey, thinks she is an apsara. And the gadha thinks he is Kamdev. He keeps a comb and keeps combing his hair all the time. And the ladies have their own. There was one lady, she came to meet me and she kept doing this. I said, what is this? She said, Swamiji, this is a hairstyle called flick. In youth, if somebody is proud, it is understandable. But that kind of pride doesn't last too long, because after you get married and then chunnu munnu come and the juta chappal begins, then the pride starts getting worn off. And when you grow old and the back gets bent, then naturally pride disappears. So in old age, to go in the direction of God is natural. But if somebody in youth is going towards in the spiritual path, that is highly creditable. That person has got very strong sanskars from the past. So yauvanam, dhana, wealth, prabhutva, some kind of mastery over some skill or some knowledge, they all cause intoxication. We don't realize it, but all of us have pride. You see, the pride resides in the intellect. So the intellect is unable to know that I have pride. It is only the Guru who can understand this pride is causing the problem. On a lighter side, I have heard of this elephant who was going by, and a mouse saw the elephant. He said, "Mr. Elephant, can you please step aside?" He called it aside from the herd. The elephant came and asked the mouse, "What is the matter?" The mouse said, "I have lost my short pants. I want to know if you are wearing them." That is pride. You will say this mouse was totally crazy. But such is the state of the human intellect in the Maya-dhin avastha, in this material bondage. We all have our pride of little things. And the second is the pride of doership. You do something and become proud of it. There's a story that one man of Greece, he went to Socrates and he was talking about the big house that he had made. So Socrates got a map of Greece and he said, "In this map, where is the city where you live in?" So in a map, the city was a little dot. In that, where is your colony? The colony was obviously a dot within the dot. And in that colony, where is your house? That is a dot within the dot within the dot. Is that what you are proud of? So this pride that I am the doer and I am like this. The humble thoughts are the reverse of this. Yat kritam, yat karishyami, tat sarvam namaya kritam, tvaya kritam tu phalabhuk tvameva madhusudana. Oh Shri Krishna, whatever I did not do it. You enabled me to do it because you are the source of the power. And the enjoyer of the fruits of this work is also you. Now we need to repeatedly practice these humble sentiments. Now you ask yourself, do I have pride? And you'll get the answer, no, I don't have. Whom did you ask? I asked my intellect. Swamiji said we all have pride. Do I have pride? So what did the intellect say? Intellect said, of course not. You see, the intellect will not be able to figure this one out. You will have to ask the saints and the scriptures. Once, the Mohammedan Badshah Akbar was on his elephant touring his city of Delhi. A drunkard was standing by the side of the road. The drunkard looked at the king on his elephant. He said, "Kyon bhai, hathi bechega? Hey you, will you sell me your elephant?" Akbar was indignant. Gross insult. One of his citizens asking whether he will sell the elephant. Akbar told Birbal, "Let this person be brought to my court tomorrow." Now that drunkard came back to his senses and he realized he was done for. He went to Birbal and said, "Oh wise minister, please help me save my life." Birbal taught him a strategy. The next day, when this drunkard came to the king's court, Akbar said, "You asked me if I'll sell my elephant to you?" That drunkard said, "Huzur, how could I ever say such a thing? You are Badshah Salamat. I am an ordinary person. I don't even have money to buy an elephant. And if I had, why would I buy from you? I'd go and buy from the market." Akbar said, "I heard somebody say it. If it was not you, then who was it?" The man said, "Huzur, I know who it was. I will bring him to your court tomorrow." Akbar said, "All right." That person went home. He came back the next day with a bottle of alcohol in his hand. He came and placed it on the table. Akbar said, "What nonsense is this?" He said, "Huzur, this bottle said it." "What do you mean?" "I mean, at that time I was intoxicated. So my intellect had gotten destroyed because of the alcohol. I did not know what I was saying. Now that that intoxication has disappeared, I'm back to my senses. If you wish to punish anybody, punish the intoxication." Akbar had a hearty laugh and he forgave this person. But the same is the pride. We are all intoxicated in it and we don't realize that the pride is the number one obstacle on this spiritual path. It is what is preventing us from speedy progress.
Hope you enjoyed that short but powerful lecture from Swamiji. So the pride, he said, is the number one obstacle because our ego comes in the way. Like he beautifully narrated, Manoranjan ji would have loved it, right? Kabir Das ji's doha, "Jab main tha tab hari nahi, hari hai tab main nahi, prem gali ati sankari, ya mein dvay na samaye." So it's our pride, and on the other hand side of the spectrum, we have humility. And humility is the biggest virtue one can have. It is the stepping stone or the foundation uh, on which you can build the platform of devotion. It is the Adhar Shila or the foundation of spirituality or the path of devotion. The humbler you get, the more grace we draw from God, and more pride we have, immediately God takes a back seat. That is how the process goes basically. And like in even in Shishtastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanena Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Trinadapi Sunichen means become humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. Because when you throw something on a tree, then it gives you fruit back in return. So become more tolerant than a tree. Amanena Manaden means don't seek respect, give respect. And Kirtaniya Sadahari means always remember Hari, God. Simple principle around it. So the humility is a great virtue to have on this path. Pride on the other side is something that eats away or erodes our spiritual merit because we are going further away from the truth. And even on the path of surrender, this defect needs to be watched out for. Sometimes when we try to do our stuff or try to align to these principles, a subtle pride starts building up. You know what? I'm doing that. I'm surrendered and the other person is not, or I'm better than that person. And that person doesn't work. It can happen in Seva world or otherwise as well. So the sixth principle has to be really understood properly because this is a very subtle thing. And when we are talking about the story, it is an internal defect, not an external act. Right? Externally, somebody might be a renunciate. You see so many Babas, they can get saffron clothes on. Does that mean have they become an renunciate? No. It's an internal thing. Has their software aligned is the key here. And similarly, pride and surrender are internal things. You, in order to give up pride, it's not that you become humble on the outside, you are bound down to somebody. That means you have become humble or you have gotten rid of pride, like the story we spoke about. On the exterior, this guy was not wearing anything or a dhoti, but on the inside, that defect was still there. So this is a thing that is an internal thing, not something which is external. You can say that, you know, that person looks so simple, so that must be very humble or it doesn't have any pride. It's an internal defect and only God and Guru can catch that. So, and it requires a lot of work that we have to do. And then the principle of surrender, we say, right, when we completely surrender, that's when God, we can see God in his true form. There's not even a moment's delay. When we are completely Sharanagat, God has to manifest himself in front of you. So does it mean if we are 90% surrender, we'll see 90% of God? You know, maybe until his head or maybe until his, you will see him completely when you're 100% surrender. Even if it's 99.9%, still you still have to complete that surrender before you can see him. And pride is something we really need to watch out for. On the next one, okay. Now, the key to improvement. This is where we'll have a bit of a discussion. Now, the key aspect here that is required on the path of practicing surrender, or for that matter, any spiritual asset that we are trying to build. It could be anything. Any little piece of knowledge that has clicked to us, we can simply pick that up and start working on it. And the beauty of this path is that the remaining virtues have to follow. It's not possible that you are trying to practice speaking truth and at the same time you are becoming dishonest in life, or you are becoming more violent in life, or you are becoming less trust. All those virtues would automatically come. Pick up any spiritual virtue. Devik gunas are illustrated very beautifully in chapter 16 verse 3. So any of the Devik gun that you talk about, becoming fearless, trying to speak truth, be compassionate, any virtue you pick up and you try to work on it, it will bring in more of its friends. And on the contrary, if you try to indulge or pick up a vice, a bad habit, then it will bring its own friends. So what is the key to improvement? Let's look at this. By the way, this quote, I love it. A bad day for your ego is a great day for your soul. Okay, it's a very beautiful quote. I love that. It happens. If somebody, gives you a nice beating on your ego for whatever reason on a given day, and you are able to simply tolerate it, then it's very uplifting for the soul. There is a corner that your soul would cut on that day. It's a very deep concept and a very profound concept to be understood. So let's look at what is that key for improvement. So if we have to go from point A to point B, this is our path. This is where I am, or we are basically. I'm just saying illustration of just a proxy on your behalf. And this is where I want to be, right? And then there is a gap. Is this gap tolerable, intolerable, or how intolerable basically? That will determine the intensity of our efforts, or how much we prioritize on a day-to-day basis with regards to how desperate are we to bridge this gap. And God says that the complete surrender happens when this gap becomes intolerable. It's like you put a guy in water, put his head in water and keep it in water until he starts gasping for breath and his hands start shaking. Okay, and when you take him out, he say, if there was even one more second you had kept me, my life years would have gone away, I would have died. So when we have that level of intolerance or longing for God, that I cannot bear that anymore, my current unworthiness, that's when God will come. So that is the intensity that is needed. We have to get to that state, right? So I'm very far away from that when I think about this concept, but this is what Swamiji has explained. That gap should become intolerable for us, nothing less than perfection, and start striving to work towards it, aligning to all the principles that we are talking about. All right, with that, I'll open it up. Any questions you want to talk about or discuss on the concept that we have discussed today? Pride, humility, ego, all the and the surrendering. The last part is surrendering the pride of having surrendered. All right, our co-host can do the honors.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Meena ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Meena ji.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, so just want to add one thing which just now I was saying regarding Sishtastakam Trinadapi Sunichena. So even I am not doing it like how you told at the beginning of the session, like it's very difficult to get out of ego, each one of us, and like how Swamiji also mentioned in the video, right? So it becomes so difficult, like if we ask ourselves, we'll say, no, my intellect, my buddhi will say, no, I don't have ego at all. But it has to be told by the God or the Guru, by the grace of them only, it really adds up. So the point which I want to talk about here is about the Sistastakam by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually Krishna himself in the form of Gaura Nitai. He is in the form of the color of Radharani. So when Krishna wants to enjoy the pleasure potency, the Haladini Shakti, that is Radharani, what does Radharani see in me that she loves me so much? So then Radha Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the form of Krishna with the bhav of Radharani, and our Maharaji, our Kripaluji, Jagat Ruddham Kripaluji Maharaj is another form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. It's the Radharani, Bhava of Radharani. So he didn't write any scriptures, he didn't do anything. He only wrote 8 verses which talks about the Shishtastakam. And as you've already explained, the third one, Trinadapi, I would like to go a little bit further up after the Trinadapi or before, I don't remember. But it also talks about, he says, na sundarim, na dhanam, na sundarim, na kavitam. So he says, Mama, Janmani, I don't want anything. I don't want beautiful girls. I don't want money. I don't want anything. And I don't want disciples either. I don't want to become a great acharya also and get lot of disciples and to preach them. No, I don't want that also. I only want Kirtaniya Sadahari. And the end, he also adds one more verse which says, like each minute feels like, each like billions of years of the separation of you. So that is what Radharani, the Aladani Shakti of Krishna was the viraha form of love which he was having towards Krishna. So even in materialistic life, even Swamiji has said so many times, it becomes, when you love someone, it becomes easy to see him and feel loved. But when you really miss someone, and someone is not with you, even a love of husband, wife, or a kid and a mother, or a father, or a brother and a sister, or whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. When a person is not there in front of you, that viraha, I don't know, personally, I feel, the Shastakam, if people have got an opportunity, I have read it from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is written by Sri Kaviraja Goswami at the age of
Thank you.
90 plus. In the Antya it's like it's unbearable. So I request, even I'm not doing it, but I have to start. Read every day Shastakam verses. It will keep you grounded. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you for bringing that other verse as well, Meenaji. Very nice. Yes, it is a treasure chest basically. Those 8 verses encapsulates the essence of the entire scriptures. That is how profound they are. Right? You can write a commentary basically in thousands and thousands of volumes can be written about those. So thank you so much for bringing that. Let's move on. I see one more hand.
Yes. Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji, please go
Sandhya.
ahead.
Radhe Radhe, amazing. Meena ji, it was so beautiful. Vira Madhuri, I mean, that's expressed very beautifully. I actually wanted to also bring another point that Swamiji had mentioned, and I just loved it. It's like when we are very far away from a mountain, we might feel it is of our similar size. But as we go closer to the mountain, we realize how insignificant we are in front of that humongous, large mountain. So that is what I think is this pride, humility concept as well. Very nice analogy. Like the God, when we bring in God into our consciousness, we automatically will realize that we are nothing and we will become humble. So that was very beautiful. And
True.
yeah. And one more thing was this, that I used to earlier feel too much of proud of being an Indian, born in India. Was proud to be an Indian, proud to have my family, and later on I realized that this term gets replaced with another term, grateful to God for whatever nice things or nice environment that they have provided us, which could help us in our journey. So I think that was a very nice uh,
True.
transformation that JK Yoga and Bhagavad Gita classes has helped us to understand.
No, it's a very great realization, Sandhya. Couple of things, like you said, right? When we get closer to a mountain, we understand its true glory and how incorrect we were when we were thinking we are equals when we are seeing it from far. And same thing happens during scientific discoveries also, right? You may start off with a big, huge ego and pride that, we are empirical, evidence-based, this and that. But as you get closer and closer and closer, the more the truth starts unraveling itself, then it starts bringing in humility, right? Newton, at the peak of his powers, he said, it seemed like I was merely playing with pebbles while an entire sea lay in front of me unexplored. That is what he realized at the peak of his powers. So that is a very natural consequence of um, making a natural progression towards something. Even if you go deeper in science, like I think one of the scientists had said, if you think deep enough, science will compel you to believe in God. Those realizations start happening to people when they start reaching the peak of their scientific powers, because they get humility that, what, this is nothing short of a miracle, and what I have discovered is not even a drop in the entire ocean that is still unexplored. So you get that sense. Very nice. And the second thing, what was the second thing you had called out the example?
No example about pride only. I was saying that instead of being proud, we become grateful to God
Grateful.
for giving us those situations. Yeah.
True, and it is one of the God's graces. In one of his lectures, he was talking about God gives you 3 graces. First, making a human. Second is giving you a guru. Okay, it's very difficult to find a guru. It's like the odds of finding a log when you are sinking in an ocean is higher than finding a true guru. And third is having a spiritual spark. On top of that, if you are born as a human in Bharatvarsh, it's an added advantage because you are exposed to Krishna and Ram Leelas right up front. Now, I won't say Ram and Krishna were Indian, but they chose to be born in those regions, right? So it becomes easy for you to relate to them early on in life. So that is also part of the grace, especially if you are born in that region of the world. So these graces, we have to better make it count. That is the expectation from God, right? So great point. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Yes.
Radhe Radhe Surya Prakash ji. Yeah, please go ahead.
SSBG, please.
I feel this pride is due to the achievements what he got, and ego is due to his parents. It may be due to if they are rich, if they are born, something like ego may come with the what you call from the parents' wealth and all, and pride may be his achievements.
Possibly. Let's blame it on parents. I think that's easy. It's only because of the parents we got the ego. Yeah, but yeah, it's a subtle thing for us, all of us in different forms, and the reasons could be anything. Very nice, very true. Okay, anybody else wanted to say anything on this concept?
I think Lakshmi ji.
One of the other things that I found fascinating is this aspect, the gap, it has to become intolerable over a period of time. Right now, we are okay with the gap. We are saying, all right, we are making progress. We are doing this, but that has to intensify if we have to really progress quickly on this path. But that intensifying is also very contextual, right? But bottom line is at no point in time we should let the foot of our pedal, on the path of spirituality. That is the key thing. Okay, yes, Shri Ramya, SRT.
Radhe Radhe. I wanted to ask, is there any practical tip for us to practice humility in our day-to-day life?
Practical tip to bring humility in our day-to-day life. Yeah, one of the things like Swamiji said, right? There are 2 categories of things that you would end up doing in a day, right? Things that you feel good about, that some kind of achievements or something good gets done through you, or things where you're making mistakes and making a complete mess of it. With me, it's the other way around, right? So when something good gets done, then you bring in this consciousness, it is God. Thank you, God, having that feeling of gratitude around that. So gratitude, the practicing gratitude itself will bring in a lot of humility because you are giving the credit where it truly belongs rather than taking it for yourself. And every act that you do, whenever somebody says, Ramya, well done, or Shri Ramya thinks that, job well done, bring in God into your consciousness immediately to thank him, that thank you for inspiring me and giving me the skill, ability, and an inspiration to get it done. Anything good that happens, anybody praises you, and always think of finding good things in others where you can praise them as opposed to seeking praise for yourself. So those are some of the things I think, but I would like to hear from other participants what they practice to bring in the spirit of surrender in their life. There are multiple tools I think we can share, but I just shared what came on the top of my head. And at the same time, when you make a mistake, own it. Then you don't say, God, it's because of you this thing happened. Then you own it, that it's because of my imperfection and I need to work better on that. Let's hear from other participants if they want to add more color to this discussion.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Ramya ji was asking, right, a practical tip for practicing humility. I don't know whether this is feasible or not, but I thought, like, immediately the thought that came into my mind is that dasya bhav servitor attitude, attitude of servitorship. When we maintain that, maybe we'll be humble all the time.
True. In fact, God's names, if you look at God's definition, God is called Bhakt Vatsal. That means you have to become a really good Bhakt to enjoy Vatsalta from him, which is a pretty high aspiration, right? We are all work in progress, so it might take a bit of a time for us to become perfect Bhakts. But then God has made it easy for us. He said, Deen Bandhu, you become Deen, humble, that I'm nothing, I'm asahai and I'm this and I'm that. Then he's Bandhu, then he'll become your friend. Or you say, I'm Patit, most fallen, biggest sinner in this world, Patit, and he'll become Patit Pavan and meet you. So he's given you all the three options, depending upon which one you feel most comfortable with. Tvatsal, Deen Bandhu, Patit Pavan. So humility is definitely one of the things. He's called Deen Bandhu. If we consider ourselves humble, he's willing to extend his hands out to us. Yes, Wayne, because you have turned on your camera, you get the privilege.
Great. Roddy.
Yes.
It seems to me that people that have a lot of problem with pride and ego use the words I and my a lot, talk about themselves.
Yeah.
So is that something that you've noticed, or?
It happens. In fact, in US, or for that matter, the modern corporate culture also promotes that. So if you say we did it, they said we is fine. You tell what I did, you did specifically. So that self-esteem movement here in general, it promotes that I a lot. And Swamiji says, which is very counterintuitive, the humbler you become, the more self-esteem you would have, which is very counterintuitive, but that is how it works. And when you replace I with we, illness becomes wellness. Okay, I had read it somewhere. That is also pretty interesting, right? So yes, that I has to be put in place in perspective. But for us to be practical in life, if I'm going to go for a job interview and I don't say I, they will not hire me. So you would use it judiciously on the external, but internally always have that understanding that, it's not me actually. It's only God who's enabling us and inspiring us and giving us the energy to do that. Because it's an internal thing. Spirituality is an internal thing. On the outside, you can put on an act. No issues whatsoever. And that is how we are supposed to operate in this world as well. Smart, buddhi in world, man in God. From outside, you have to exercise behavioral competence, what is needed, right? You've got to be smart around how you deal with people. But on the inside, be clean and simple and keep the right knowledge at heart. Don't let that knowledge slip by building false pride from inside. So that is how spirituality needs to be practiced in this world.
I thought it might be a good gauge for some, or to watch how often you say I or my or that kind of thing, to kind of reflect on ourselves to see when we think we don't have pride, and a gauge to see just how much pride we really do have, kind of like looking in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, you've got to use it on the outside in the world we live in.
We have to. There's no choice, basically. If I get into my appraisal and I say I've not done anything at all, then they say, all right, thank you very much. You get the last rating, and we were looking for a candidate just like you only. We just need a humble candidate like you so that we don't have to get into any discussions. So yes, we got to be smart in the world, but from inside, we got to be in touch with our reality. That is what the spirituality is all about here.
Okay. Roddy, thank you.
Prakashji turned on his camera hearing that. So yeah, you can relate to that, right, Prakashji? That's how in the corporate it works. It's all about I did this, I did this, I did that. And you have to continue saying that throughout the day. Yes, Ashutosh, you are going to recite a Bhakti Shatak Doha on this concept today.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, when you're talking about that Dina Bandhu and Bhaktavalsal, then I reminded of one Bhakti Satak verse.
But you
Same
are
line.
very, very slow today. I mean, if you can hear me, then I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear. Are you able to hear me now properly?
I can hear you equally as much.
सब साधन संपन्न कहा पूछत सब संसार राधे राधे साधनहीन प्रपन्न पूछत नंद कुमार राधे राधे जय राधे कृष्ण राधे 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 कृष्ण राधे जय राधे श्री राधे राधे.
Very
Maharaj says,
nice, Ashutoshi. Very nice, Ashutoshi. Loved it. I was able to hear you finally. Thank you very much. Samji was a little upset. Maybe she was not able to hear you, but we were able to manage to hear you. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, Prakash.
wonderful, Ashutoshi. Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice, Ashutoshi. Yes, Prakash.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Good to
A
see you.
beautiful voice, Ashutoshi. Very good singing. Yeah, since the concept of ego talking about, I couldn't stop making a comment here. So there is another beautiful analogy that Swamiji mentioned about the powerhouse analogy, right? That always I remember that. So how big is your house? Unless until the power is there from the powerhouse, you cannot do anything, right? The supply is cut, that means you're gone, right? Similarly, how much your talent you have, whatever achievement you have, everything is because of the God's grace, right? So that's how I correlate and then stay humble.
Very true. The powerhouse is God. He's the very basis of our life years. He's the Atma of our Atma, right? So if his energy is cut, done deal, basically. Very true. Anything that works for us to bring in that sentiment that it's not me, that helps basically. And that has to be a conscious, continuous practice. Thank you, Prakashji. Very nice. All right. I see Sandhya and Ajitji. Sandhya, go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, once again. I mean, just the tip thing that Shri Ramya ji asked. One thing that you had taught us like early on, taking this challenge of remembering, filling all the gaps with Radhe Shyam. So basically, trying our best to keep God with us all the time, realizing that He is with us all the time. I think humility will be a natural consequence. Anything good that happens will automatically be due to Him, right? Even by us or by anyone else. So that I think is one tip that I personally feel is pretty powerful.
Very nice. Yeah, if we can actually bring in this practice of filling the gaps or voids in our day with God's name and remembrance, that is the best gift we can give to ourselves. It can actually have a very transformative effect. You will feel a certain power, I'm telling you. Just try it out. It's very divine. It's a very powerful practice. So, and very auspicious as well. Thank you for refreshing that, Sandhya. Yes, Ajitji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Another trip for practical aspect is the trusty bhav that you already covered. That we are not having ownership or doing anything. We are only trustee. Secondly, we are playing our role here on the stage of world drama. And we are the traveler, musafir. Doesn't belong to us. Bas charai veti.
Very true.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Very nice. Yeah, other part of it is, yeah, trustee. We are just mere caretakers here. Nothing belongs to us. We spoke about not having a sense of proprietorship because anything can be snatched away from us in a moment. And we have absolutely no control over it. Anything that you think is mine can be snatched away just like that. That itself should set the things in perspective. And like Maharaji says, live in this world like you would live in a dharamshala. You would not start building too many bridges because when you start planning and plotting for something, that will give you a sense of doership or ego as well, because you are thinking you are going to create something out of it. When you live here as if it is a temporary pit stop for you, just like a dharamshala, just like you have stayed in a motel where your destination is somewhere else, that will also bring in that impermanence, temporary, and the humility around, and that ephemeral nature of this world, and bring in humility around it as well. Anything that provides you that trigger. Yes, Sunita ji, wanted to add something more?
A great trick which brings humility, that always remember that we are more mortal being. Even the very breath, even our body will betray us someday. So we are not immortal being here. So even then what is there to have proud, that even the very breath is not mine, even the body which I'm so much attached, it is not mine. So it is going to betray us in some day. So if you think like that, then automatically the pride, the ego will be smashed away. So always think that we are mortal being, we are going to die at any moment, so nothing belongs to us.
True. This body is also a rental thing that is given to us for a specific duration. If you think about it, we are just inhabiting it as a rental, and then finally we will be forced to vacate it. See, if we have become God realized, then we can leave it at our volition when our time is up. But if we have not, then we are forced. It's like rent. You have a tenant in your house, right? And you have to force them out of it. That is what Yamraj has to do, because we are not willing to let go of it. And it is a temporary thing again. You have to move on to a different gross body at that point. And all the relatives and everything that we consider adults, they cannot accompany us. Anyways, yesterday we spoke about the concept of who is a true Nati or a true Sambandhi. Nobody other than God himself. And Guru, of course, once you have established that connection with Guru, this association, Guru with Guru, God realized Guru, and God is a permanent association. Other than that, all are temporary relationships. Those posts and roles keep changing, and we start building that drama around those roles and posts and positions and relations, but none of that relation is permanent. Just like a train journey, people, when they have their exit ticket, they have to get off that train station. You can't accompany them, nor are they willing to continue the journey with you. Yes, Manishi. Your volume is not, it's echoing, or maybe some problem with your audio. Yeah, you may want to reconnect that. Yeah. Okay, any announcements today? Yeah, you can go down. I think it's better.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
I think my headphones were acting up. Yeah, so I wanted to say what I do to learn the humility or practice humility is I just say that, that you are inside me, you are everywhere, and without you, I'm able to do nothing. Whatever good I'm able to do, it's because of your energy, because of you, and whatever bad that I do, mistakes I do, is because of my mistakes, which I'm learning. And then I also say, they don't like the number 13 here, but 13 is tera. So I say, sab kuch tera, kuch nahi mera. So everything here is yours, nothing is mine. So there's nothing to be proud of. So thank you.
Very true, very true. Although we sing, very nice. Thank you for sharing that, Manishi. Although we sing it in our aarti, right? Tera tujhko arpan, kya lage mera, Om Jai Jagdish Hare. But if you really think about it, then it is essentially saying that nothing belongs to me. And we are used to attune to singing this aarti since our childhood. Om Jai Jagdish Hare. And one of the line comes is, nothing belongs to me as such. But if you think about that concept, we have to just bring it not only in letter, but in spirit also. Right? There was a joke where Guruji comes and this guy says, Guruji, everything belongs to you only. So, but anyway, he goes to him and asks that, I don't feel happy. Can you give me a mantra for happiness? So Guruji says, I have heard you see that aarti, Tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera, and time and again you say, Guruji, everything belongs to you only. So why don't you convert all your wealth into gemstones and bring it to me one day? and then I'll give you the mantra for happiness. He said, really? He said, yeah, really. So he converts everything into gemstones and brings it to his Guruji. The Guruji snatches it away and starts running. He said, what happened? I've come here for happiness and now I'm losing the wealth also, all my wealth. And he started running and Guruji started running. He started dodging him, he started chasing him. Finally, he catches hold of his Guruji and snatches that back. So Guruji asked him, are you happy now? He said, yes, I'm happy now. He said, see, you got the mantra. So this is how it goes basically. When we reclaim something, it's already there with us. But when we lose it, then we start getting a sense out of it. But anyway, from a sense of proprietorship, nothing actually belongs to us. It all belongs to God because it's his energy. Everything is his energy. And he's the very basis of our life here as well. And we have to start building in that consciousness through whatever ways we can so that we get closer to the truth. Otherwise, we are further away from the truth. Anything less than that is a falsehood. It is a partial truth. And until we reach the absolute truth, we will not have the peace that we are looking for. Yes, Salilji, last one, and then we can get into our devotional segment because we are over time already. Yes, Salilji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So one thing which I try to do to bring humility is, although it's easier said than done, is thinking that we are just the soul and not the body. So in that way, even if I get, if someone has achieved something and if that person becomes proud of that. So if we think this way, so we'll get to know that we are just the body and I am just the soul and my purpose of life is to serve the God. And in that way, it's not only about proud, it's also when if we have a hardship and if someone is depressed, in that way also it helps.
Yes. Very nice, Salilji. Where are you joining us from?
Yeah, I'm from Hyderabad. It's I think first time I'm joining this thing.
Okay, good. Glad to have you. Would love to hear more from you. Welcome to the sessions. And also there is a beautiful shloka in our scriptures which says Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande paramananda madhavam. Basically it says that it's only through God's grace even a dumb person can speak eloquently. And a lame person can climb over a mountain or jump over a mountain. So with God, with his grace, anything is possible. And he's enabling us and picking us as instruments from time to time to get things done. So it is our privilege and fortune to become an instrument of God from time to time to get anything good done. If God were to unify technology, he inspired Bill Gates to come up with Windows so that the entire people, they could have PCs at their home, and it is the unification in the technology itself because of the Windows. So similarly, God has his ways of getting things done. If you get picked up to get something big done for taking the humanity forward, that means you are the chosen one, and that is only because of God's grace only, nothing with our effort as such. So that's the right way of looking at it. I think that's something we all can practice on a regular basis to increase our spirit of surrender, so to say. Okay, anything else, or are we done for today then?
Announcements, maybe I can quickly.
Yes, please go ahead with announcements. The fundraiser information session, I wanted to let you know that we have it on Sunday at 9 a.m., which will be 8:30 a.m. p.m. CST. So any questions that you have about the fundraiser, please come over. It's going to be a information session around it, Q&A. Strongly encourage you to attend that. And like we are having the fundraiser. The phase 2 of that already kicked off, and we do have created a page. Maybe we can pull it up if you want to register for that and join the team, Daily Wisdom team, for the fundraiser. That will be a good activity to do, and we can talk about how creatively we can extend outreach to mobilize funds around this effort. Anything more than that, Sandhya? Maybe I can pick it up.
8:30 a.m. IST and
PM. It will be 9 a.m. IST, right? Or is it 9 p.m.?
No, I think you said it right, but you said CST, so I just wanted to correct that.
Okay, CST, I said that. Okay, it's IST then.
And and then Swamiji is in Delhi right now, so his India tour is going on. I think we can see Shyamji's background, which is his picture with Swamiji as he promised.
Already, Shyamji, have you already met Swamiji?
Yes, yesterday Gurgaon, right?
Oh, so Shefali and team is going to meet them today, and you already met him yesterday. Would you like to share some experience on how was
Because
your?
I had to go to Amritsar today for some work. So I had to plan last evening for Gurgaon. It was wonderful, as always, blissful.
Very
You
nice.
just have to be there to believe it. You can't express in words, as you already know.
I can see
It's
your
so
picture.
good to,
Picture.
yes, yes,
Wonderful. I'm glad you
so
could meet him in
perfect.
person. Very nice.
I had to meet him. No way out. No option.
Awesome.
Yeah, and today we have Shefali and a few other folks going in to meet Swamiji. So all the very best. And you can
I wish
relay our
I had gone
pranams.
today also. Yeah,
Wonderful.
somehow. Yeah. Thank you. Radhe, Radhe.
Thank you,
Many
Sham.
more experiences to come in our next session on Monday. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. And if one of you get a ticket to Golok, do write us a letter from there, okay? But do let us know how was your experience.
Already have it. My one. Don't worry that. I can tell you that for sure.
Sure.
And the other announcement is about Gita Jayanti. So from December 1st to 4th, we will have Bhagavad Gita Summit and Gita Jayanti celebrations at the Radhakrishna Temple. I have shared the details. There will be a chanting of all the 700 shlokas of Gita. So all of us can participate online as well as offline. So please
Wonderful.
register yourself for that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So Pallaviji, are you going to sing today?
Yes.
All right. So we transition over to our devotional segment then, if you have done with the announcements. And Pallaviji is going to recite something today. So let's hear her out. Thank you, Pallaviji. We are all ears for you.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji. Radhe Radhe everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. So on the topic of humility, I'm going to sing my favorite bhajan. मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब.
All right. Beautiful bhajan.
मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. करते हो तुम कन्हैया, मेरा नाम हो रहा है. करते हो तुम कन्हैया, मेरा नाम हो रहा है. मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. तुम साथ हो जो मेरे, किस चीज की कमी है. तुम साथ हो जो मेरे, किस चीज की कमी है. किसी और चीज की अब दरकार ही नहीं है. तेरे साथ में गुलाम अब गुलफाम हो रहा है. करते हो तुम कन्हैया, मेरा नाम हो रहा है. मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. मेरा आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है. Thank you. Radhe.
Beautiful, Pallaviji. It's a beautiful bhajan. And a very appropriate one for the topic of our discussion today, to bring in the sentiments. And I actually live it every day. How things get done, I have no clue, to be honest. As Swamiji always says, it's one of my most cherished lines from him. He said that if you have to test God and Guru, pick up something much more than your ability that you are very sure you cannot never do, and put in your best. And when it will get done, you will realize it was not you who was doing it. So that's a very sure shot way of testing God and Guru's grace.
So true, Nitinji.
Yeah,
So
very true.
true. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
the
you
opportunity.
so much. It was beautifully sung, and you guys are like raised the bar on this part of it. So we're going to extract this as well. Thank you so much, Pallavi ji, and always an honor to hear you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. A lot of hearts your way. Yes, Sunita ji, are you going to recite in your melodious voice as well today?
Okay, I will try.
You have
It
your
was
mic?
very,
No mic today. No, go ahead, please.
yeah, I have my mic. Okay, let me turn on it. And it was a very beautiful and mesmerizing bhajans. मेरी आपकी कृपा से सब कुछ काम हो रहा है. It was very nice. Okay. Let me turn on my mic. I have to put it
Now
on setting.
the only thing that we are missing right now is an orchestra along with the singing. Okay, so I think we should work at having some percussionists as well. Let's just make that happen on one of the sessions. Yes, Sunita ji, please go. No, I said instruments also. Maybe in one of the sessions we can have coordinate with instruments as well.
Okay. This bhajan is all about appreciation of Lord Krishna. So there is nothing to explain much. So just want to sing directly without any kind of explanation. most probably all of you have heard this bhajan, Manomohana Mora Krishna. Have you heard this before?
Yes, from Darling of Vrindavan. It's a very, very soulful bhajan, basically. I love that. Our little one loves it as well. Manmohana Mora Krishna, right? It's a beautiful bhajan. Please go ahead. I've heard it like tons of time.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhuttharam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham manmohana mora Krishna 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 Manmohana Mora Krishna 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 Manmohana Radhe Radhe Jai Shri Krishna 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 Manmohana Mora Krishna 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 Manmohana मेरी प्रीत तुम मेरा संगीत तुम मेरा जीवन महकाओ मेरी प्रीत तुम मेरा संगीत तुम मेरा जीवन महकाओ बंसी बजैया रास रचैया शरण में लो कृष्णा मनमोहना मोरा कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण मनमोहना राधे राधे जय श्री कृष्णा कृष्ण 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 मनमोहना मोरा कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण मनमोहना सब दुख हरे मन पावन करे जब कान्हा मुस्काए, बन के वृंदावन का उजाला, गोपाला कृष्णा मनमोहना, मोरा कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण मनमोहना, राधे राधे जय श्री कृष्ण, कृष्ण 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 मनमोहना, मोरा कृष्ण 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 सॉरी मनमोहना, यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत, अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. Thank you so much.
Very, very nice, Sunita ji. The first time I'm hearing it live. It's a very beautiful bhajan, and if you've not heard it, I would strongly encourage all of you, so that you can appreciate how well Sunita ji has sung. Go and check it out, Darling of Vrindavan. Your kids are going to enjoy it. Very beautifully made movie. Very nicely made movie. It's an animation movie, but adults will enjoy it as well. It's available on YouTube, and this song is one of my favorite ones. Even our little one loves it as well. And the way you sang it, very soulful. Your pitch, lay, tal, and everything was so perfect. So thank you so much for that, Sunita ji. It's a very nice, cute bhajan with little Krishna and in his animation. So check it out if you have not seen it. And Sunita ji, you were outstanding like always. So thank you so much for that. Anybody who wants to say anything? I know everybody's speechless right now, but feel free to add speech and let Sunita ji know.
I just wanted to add one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, literally no words. I literally got goosebumps for Sunita ji when she sang, and it's first time experience like this for me. Thank you, Sunita ji, for giving that experience.
Thank you, Sunita ji, for giving a lot of us goosebumps every day. Let me put it that way. She did that yesterday as well. So
Yeah, thank you for the second time. Sheer bliss experience. Literally amazing.
we got double treat today, Pallavi ji and then Sunita ji. It was pretty amazing. So thank you so much. And your neighbors will be thanking you, Sunita ji, with your vibrant voice with the mic. Okay. So you can expect a few knocks, congratulatory knocks, I would say. Yes, Shruti, you wanted to add something? Or you want to sing from something?
No, I'm not melodious at all, and listening to her, I'm like just bowled over. Seriously, Sunita ji, it was so melodious. You don't need a studio or anything. You're like hands on, you don't need any other equipment or a guitar or anything. It was so mesmerizing. Loved every second of it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Sunita ji. Amazing. And Sri Ramya is going to add something as well. Go ahead, Sri Ramya.
Yeah, I have a request. So I'm every time sending request to Sunita ji. Like today I'm requesting Sunita ji to someday sing Gopi Geet for us. Would love to listen to Gopi Geet with that bhav and that voice from her.
Gopi Geet, which one? Jayati Tedhikam Janmana Braja, right?
Jayati Tedhikam Janma. Yeah, you can sing that. We will love it. Why don't you bring it to one of the sessions?
Okay, I will sing.
Okay,
Gopi Geet.
we will do a good Roop Dhyan that day. So let us know. I think that's going to be amazing. Please do that.
But it's a very big, very long.
No, you can do it in installments for us. That is perfectly.
Okay. Then
you can do it in installments, maybe.
Otherwise, it will take half an hour. And
So what you can do is we'll have a Gopi Geet month. So you can do it in 3 minutes installments for the entire month.
Yeah, that will be okay.
That will be nice. And we can make an entire Gopi Geet series then, sung by Sunita ji. Great. Yes, Sri Ramaji, any more requests that you have?
That's all for today. Tomorrow, if anything comes up, I'll request. Thank you.
Sure. Great. Great, everybody. Thank you again for a very enthusiastic participation and an engaging session like we always have. Wish you all a very happy weekend. Do tune in for the information session. Check out our page. If you go to JK, do we have the link handy right now? You check that. If not, do check it out. You'll find it. Okay. If there is a will, there is a way. Go check it out and register for it and create a page as well. And then do whatever you want to do, however you want to mobilize the funds. And also, is there anything else that's coming up? Geeta Jayanti is next week. The deadline has expired to submit the videos.
I gave the link today. So today and
So
today
today,
and tomorrow,
today's
maybe we can send in final.
final. Okay. So do that and have a blessed, wonderful weekend. I look forward to seeing you next week, where we'll conclude our discussion on surrender with some practical aspects and tools and tips that we can discuss together. And then we'll move forward in our journey, completing our chapter 2 recap. Thank you, everybody. Wonderful rest of your day and great rest of your evening. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Happy weekend. Thank you. Our co-host, you can